So how much potential loss of income?
Yeah.
You know? And Java, how much money did he lose in gigs
Man.
at the time? He was taken out of awards, Java, when there was an allegation. Because those are similar cases. Allegation, you lose bread. Who loses bread and who doesn't get to lose bread? Why are other people, when there's an allegation, like Somizi Mhlongo, he never loses his bread?
Nkululeko on Cultr.
I was very amazed to see you rocking up here with boots.
No, it's not just boots. It's high-heeled boots.
Can we see
show
them?
You wanna see them? Okay, let me.
Just mind my face. but yeah.
But why
no.
why
Just mind my
are you
face.
messing with my plan? Hey, why are you messing with my plan?
Check that out.
In honor of Women's Month, all right?
Oh yes. I should have opened with Happy Women's Month, yo. Kulego
That's
took
crazy.
over. Like. Anyway, Happy Women's Month.
He saw what he was not expecting. That's
That shocked me. I was like, yo.
Let's deal with this.
So this is normal with gay niggas? Like they do rock heels as well?
Some yes, some don't.
Okay. Yeah, there's always
Yeah,
different kinds of
yeah.
And what inspired
It's
that
normal
today?
to me.
Besides Women's Month.
I don't know. I just felt like my outfit will match with them.
Yeah.
Then I wore them.
So you have mixed kinds of shoes. Sneakers for men
Yeah.
plus
For women.
For women.
Yeah. For me, I don't. When it comes to clothes, I don't see gender. If I like something and it's something that I can wear, I wear. Even
Yeah.
whether it's a skirt, whether it's a high heeled shoe, yeah.
There you go.
nigga, you gay, man.
Genderless.
Do you regard yourself as a pansexual?
No, I'm gay.
You know any pansexual?
Yeah, I wanted to
I'm
ask, what
gay.
is pansexual?
So pansexual is somebody who loves any gender based on the person they are.
Okay.
Not that you are a man or you're a woman. So if they meet you, if it's a man and they meet you as a woman and they're attracted to your personality, it's easy for them to be romantically involved with you. If they meet him and maybe because of his smiles, his look, and they connect, they go with that.
And
So-
also,
so-
it also includes transgenders as well. Like
Yes.
it's not specific men, straight men and
It's
straight
not about a
women.
gender, it's about a human being.
Okay.
So it can be across all genders.
So does it
Yeah.
happen timelessly, or like, so if I meet a woman today, I can be with a woman. If I meet a man tomorrow, I can be with a man.
That you like, that you get attracted to.
So does that mean you get into a romantic relationship with either or the genders?
You get attracted to any.
Yeah, that's what it essentially means. So the restriction
I know,
about gay.
it
So
sounds exhausting.
no, check this out though. Like I think I get it, even though it's weird in terms of like we always thought there's gay and lesbian. We must learn
Yeah.
more and more and more.
Yeah.
So gay is man, right? Lesbian is woman,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yeah.
it gets a little bit more complex with transgender,
Yeah.
right? Transgender men, transgender women,
Uh-huh.
and then there's bi. So those are simple ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then this one I didn't know. There's intersex and there's queer, of course.
Yeah.
Intersex is like you come with male and female genitalia.
Uh-huh.
And then the pansexual one is literally you being with whoever you are with, depending on the time and place and whoever you like.
So you're
Yeah.
basically not attached to any gender.
Yeah.
Yes, because bi,
So, noma yini, noma nini,
Your kids
basically.
poyawasha.
Right.
because bi is like, specific that man or woman.
Woman. Yeah.
Yeah. And you wouldn't expect them to be
and
with transgenders, maybe?
Usually with bisexual people, they've got in a continuum of a man and a woman, they would be more on one side than the other.
I get it. I get
Usually
it.
it will be like
so you
that.
believe Somizi on KFM when he's speaking to Dineo and Soul that he's pansexual, like he randomly is with women and is randomly with men. He's not specific with one or the other. And he also says it's been 5 years that he hasn't been with a woman type of thing. Like it's almost like you're saying
Yeah.
he would lean more to one side or the other. But
I would take him as a bisexual man more than a pansexual man. But obviously he knows himself better, and that's how he, explains himself that way. So yeah.
okay, cool. There you go then. With all the gay shit that's happening in the world. I mean, I saw your high heels. I was like, shit.
Yeah.
I was expecting.
Like the wearing heels.
Yeah. I was like, yo, you're wearing heels, bro. Katlego is back on Espresso.
Yeah.
Congratulations to him.
Yeah.
Congratulations,
Big
bro.
up.
That's amazing to see him back, but there is a problem that we need to deal with. Why did he have to go back to the end of the line again?
Yeah.
He was popping, he was on outsurance. Every single day you turned on the television, you would see his face. It was annoying at sometimes. Just like Lillian Dube and Desmond Dube and Ayanda Ncwane. They are all annoying with those ads though. But he was dope, right? He was an excellent presenter. He still is an excellent presenter. Allegations about infidelity, about STDs, and then he loses his job. Why? Why does your workplace have to enter into that? Why does your workplace not wait until you are exonerated and your name is cleared, and then you go back to your workplace? How much money did Katlego Maboe lose in that year? Whether it happened in 2020 or 2021, I can't remember.
It's been 2 years already.
There you go.
It's been 2 years already.
There you go. So how much potential loss of income?
Yeah.
You know? And Java, how much money did he lose in gigs at the time? He was taken out of awards, Java, when there was an allegation. Because those are similar cases. Allegation, you lose bread. Who loses bread and who doesn't get to lose bread? Why are other people, when there's an allegation, like Somizi Mhlongo, he never loses his bread? Who gets to lose bread? So I think that's the bigger question for me. I've been meditating on this. As soon as I heard that he's back and people were sharing it on social media and we're happy for him, and we all are, but then there's a question that still needs to be addressed. Who loses their bread? Who gets to lose their bread?
I think for me, as South Africans, and this is somewhere in our legislation that you have to be proven guilty in the court of law for us to say you are guilty. But we hear, in circumstances such as his, where there are such claims that are made against him, and immediately, for whatever reason, because it's a black young man who's really, making the strides. I mean, he was at the height of his career.
Yep.
Immediately, a lot of things were pulled, away from him without wanting to hear his side of story. Already, judgments were made about him, about the kind of person he is, and all of that, based on the claims that one person made. And if you say a person has a history of something, for me is okay. We can struggle with it, but this is a one person, one time incident. Why are we not paying attention to say, let's give the court of law an opportunity to make judgment? Then we can be able to do things. Personally, I'm very upset with Outsurance, how they handled the whole matter. To say even now, why should I be a client to Outsurance if they look at things that way? Because now I'm starting to also doubt that as their client, they'll be fair to me. If they're not fair with people that they work with,
absolutely,
can they be fair to me as a client? Because they might look for a loophole for them not to pay me.
And there have been stories like that before.
There has been stories like that before,
sure.
right? Yeah. And they didn't even say, let's wait till this whole matter is done.
Put them on special leave.
You get what I mean? Put them on special leave. That is fair.
The counter probably would be that he was an independent contractor, so he was on those ads all the time. But it was so.
This person is your brand ambassador.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, but this person represents you. Right.
But there's rules and regulations around being a brand. There's ways that you need to uphold and withstand a certain brand. So those may have been the reasons that they terminated his contract effective immediately, because when you are with us, you need to uphold a certain standard, because you're a household name, because the entire household is sitting watching you at a prime time. So now news go out that you did this and that and that and that to your partner, right? There's children that will ask to say, is this the guy that raped, that gave his wife STI and all of those things? I mean, kids these days have got access to the internet and they are so curious, they will ask. So maybe to avoid that kind of dialogue, the best thing to do is to actually maybe suspend him until further notice. But because we are a brand and we don't want to be associated with scandals that involve a person's personal life, because once we see him, we don't just see him, we see Outsurance. So to detach ourselves from that particular brand or that particular scandal, the best way is let him go, because now we need to continue with the work that we're doing. We need to get another household name that would run our brand and put it where it's supposed to be, and not necessarily be associated to scandals, personal or at work.
Would it be fair?
It's just a policy of work.
Would it be fair to assume then that everyone at Assurance at an executive level
Yeah.
is not cheating on their wife. Now, Katlego was not cheating. He was, whatever they were accusing him of,
Yeah.
he's won in court. You know,
Okay,
he's won in court.
Yeah.
Would it be fair to assume that the group CEO, chief financial officer, chief executive officer, and so on, whatever, would it be fair to assume that one, they are not cheating on their spouses, they're not doing anything at a personal level that may bring the brand into disrepute, and secondly, can they at some point in the future, this is not only Assurance, all the brands subject themselves annually to a lie detector test to prove that Nabo, they are not putting the brand at risk. So we have to be consistent in how we apply these standards to everyone who's related to the brand.
We cannot be, because the seats are not equal. There's executive management, right? That is not seen as a brand. That is not in people's faces. That is not representing the brand everywhere
Who's
they go.
got
So,
more association with Assurance, the group CEO or Katlego, who's a presenter
Katlego
who's
is
being
the
paid?
brand ambassador.
I get that, but
Outsurance.
who's more in
So
at
who
Assurance?
has powers at Outsurance?
Yes.
It's the executive guys that will say you stay or you go. So Katlego is the face of.
So why
Hence I'm
wouldn't you
saying with-
uphold
as a
the
face
people who are
of-
decision makers?
Because we
Uphold
don't
them
know
to a
them,
higher
we don't
standard.
see them.
Also
We
because
don't know who they are.
some of them might be doing such things, but just because they're not in the public
Yep.
eye,
Yeah.
they will not be
Exactly.
treated in that manner because
Of
they're not
course.
in the public eye. And I totally understand what Nhlanhla is saying and bringing forward. But as human beings, we must be pragmatic about things. Every organization has a soul, and the soul is brought by human beings.
Yeah.
Laws, rules, procedures are put together by human beings, right? And where I'm coming from is, don't, as much as this person is an independent contractor, these are claims. Why are you cutting my contract based on claims? It's not proven that it has been done.
So
It's the
let me ask you something very interesting.
Yeah.
Mihlali is a brand ambassador of a lot of things, right? Now, she's openly with a man who's married, right? And she's not the only woman who's in that kind of a scenario. You can look at other high-profile people who've been found with people who are married, whatever, who are doing infidelity. Why is that standard not applied to them? Why are they not held to that standard? So are we now saying that every ambassador who's a brand ambassador, and I get the logic that you represent our brand as Itiski TV, so as a result of that, you need to watch what you're doing. We have these conversations with Junior and so, but when an allegation comes, we have to support each other first. We're like, yo, how are we going to deal with this? You don't fire first. Because if you fire first, that means we're going to have to apply that to everyone. Men, women, white, black. There were allegations about Sia and infidelity on digital media a long time ago. And Rachel was quiet about it. And Sia is still the captain of the Springboks and still the brand ambassador of all the brands that he's a brand to. People were saying, I have screenshots of him hitting me on inbox. But that didn't really affect him. Why is it selective? Why does it affect other people, and mostly black guys? Because Mihlali is a face of a lot of brands, and she's openly in a relationship with a married guy.
But you see, with Mihlali, perhaps the difference would be she's an influencer,
Yeah, she's a
and
digital.
Katlego was a brand ambassador. So the contracts are different.
But are you not the
Because
face?
usually-
No.
You are, but
But
remember,
self-made
influencers.
No. You guys are
Influencers
hypocritical.
won't make
You guys are being
it.
But
hypocritical.
here's the thing:
No.
influencers are usually taken for campaigns, right? Whilst a brand ambassador would be taken for a contract of, let's say, 6 months, because
I
in
get
that
it.
6 months there are probably
I
three,
get
4,
it. So
5
I'm not going to
campaigns that
book
are
her
running.
for another.
Right.
So as a brand, your logic, then following your logic,
Yeah.
okay, there's controversy around her and her life privately, right? I'm not going to book her for something else. But she's continuously getting booked for new things, though. Even though she's
that
an
will be-
influencer.
that will be brands that will not be impacted negatively by her personal life, and that's what Nhlanhla was explaining, earlier, that the issue is the alignment between the two. That if the values from the brand are not aligned with the values from the brand ambassador, then it becomes an
There's
issue.
some perverse
right?
bullshit.
Yeah.
I think it's perverse bullshit.
It is.
It is
It is
perverse
unfortunate. And
bullshit.
hence I'm coming from a point of saying, why cut the contract rather than pausing it or suspending it to
Yeah.
say, deal with the issues. when we see what the outcome is, now we are sure of the facts, then we can decide to cut it or to continue with it.
And he probably has a leg to stand on even on outsurance.
I believe
he could sue.
so.
He could
I
sue.
believe so.
He could sue
You know.
because the standard with which we are upholding against black guys is not the same as
because
as
also
women.
remember he lost the SAFTAs.
Yes,
you know, and he fought for that as well. You know, and I think we are quick to act on issues that actually need us to, especially sensitive issues, right? Because a lot of men, unfortunately, particularly that are in the media, have in many times got into a position where stuff was said about them that were untrue, and they suffered that. And that's what I'm saying. Organizations have souls, and souls are decision makers. Why can't we think to that extent? Why are we not being reasonable?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying. That's why I'm bringing across my example that if anything happened with my guys, were the faces of the brands that we are running.
Yeah.
And they for the past 2 years we worked together. We strategize. Like let's find a way to deal with this. The first thing should not be to fire until we find all the facts about it. We'll make a decision afterwards.
Yeah.
We
and
cannot.
if it's negatively affecting the work that
We'll deal with it.
When people are saying, yeah, but why do you have a rapist there?
We'll
Like,
deal
I'm just
with
making
it.
an example,
Yes,
right?
I will deal
to
with
a
it.
point that his head has been called to
We'll
suspend this guy
Tina,
because
we'll
he's done
defend
what
first.
he should.
Tina, in my brand, and I have partners. I have
Yes.
white people who have like world sports betting, multi-million companies, right? I will be on that meeting and say, until we find the facts about this guy, I am defending him. I'm taking that hit because he's a human being. I am taking all the bullets. I will defend him, find the facts, and when we are satisfied, allow me. And in those executive meetings, you can take responsibility and you will fall for it, right? Either they will vote you out of your position because I'm CEO, they will vote me out or whatever the fuck I am. I have an executive position and also as part owner, right? But I'm gonna take the hit for Junior Kanye. I'm gonna take the hit for Tso Vilakazi. I will be like, let's talk about it. What happened? I will also use my resources to find out more. Speak to the alleged victim. What happened? Speak to them. Look at them face to face. What do you say happened? Did you go to the police station? Is there a case number? And so I will take the steps that I need to take, Mina, to understand what's happening there. I think there is a blanket approach with brands in how they deal with these things. Now, and it's a scapegoat. It's an easy thing. And one brand does it and all the other brands do it. And this is a problem. We don't have to, because all of us are going to be brand ambassadors of things. We're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. This is a fight that we also have invested interest in. We should not allow brands to just dismiss people. Mina, in my company, I will say, what happened? Let me listen to the facts. Who's the victim? Let's speak. What happened? Okay, is there a case number? Did you go to the police station? Where's the evidence? And then I go back to my niggas who work for me and I'm like, yo, bruh, this is what happened. You know, and then we go and apologize, and then he gets to be fired.
And I mean, if Expresso could allow him to take leave because he needed to deal with
Shout out to
personal
Expresso.
matters, shout out to them.
Yeah.
If they could allow him to say, okay, go sort out your personal matters. Obviously, for them, it was an issue of, because we've worked with you, we know the kind of person that you are. We'll wait for the truth to come out. But in the meantime, we'll allow you that space to deal with whatever it is that is going on. When it's done and we know what the truth is and
That's
the court have
exemplary.
spoken, we take you back.
That's
You know,
exemplary.
that is like 100%.
Yeah, that's exemplary,
100%.
man. That's a way they're showing us the way. I don't know
Yeah.
all the facts about that situation, but they're teaching us the way to deal with these
They
things.
are.
They're teaching
They
other
are.
brands as well. This is how you deal with it. And there must be consequences to these brands. You can't just dump people just because, bruh, there are controversial moments, even with myself, that I have to deal with.
Dude.
If you have to be out of social media, you have to take it like, okay, cool. Niggas are going to be attacking me today for being associated with this guy. I'm going to deal with it. But you can't just dissociate. When the Berita Nota situation happened, we're on the fucking phone call trying to find out, yo, what happened? What's happening with you? Let's talk. We meet up at a restaurant, we talk. What happened? So that when I then am seen next time with you, I know I've
you
satisfied
stand.
myself. Oh, okay. Nah, man, this is my nigga. And I'm listening to Berita as well, giving her testimony on Twitter Spaces, and I'm like, I'm listening for the abuse. What exactly happened? Did you open a case? Like, that's what I was listening to, and I even told Nota, like, yo, I was listening for that detail. And if there was a detail there, then I make a decision what I want to do. You know, that's what you do with friends and with people. You do that.
And that's what fairness is about. Fairness is
Absolutely.
about hearing two sides of the story and making a judgment that would not suppress another person because now you're being subjective.
I agree with you, bro. You and I are on
I
the
don't
same
know.
page.
I'm not on the same
When-
page.
No, she's
No.
disagreeing.
I totally disagree.
Okay. Let me ask you
No.
a straightforward question. Something happens,
Mm-hmm.
controversial like Katlego, you fire. If you were the leader, if you are in the position to make the decision on outsurance at that point, what do you
fine.
do?
I'll take him off screen, right? Up until that is done. I'd not dock his salary for anything, but I would make sure that, look, like at the end of the day, like I'm saying, it's the brand's reputation, right? And with reputation management, you need to always put the brand first.
What are we saying about
Because,
Espresso, Tina? What
listen,
have we just said about Espresso?
Espresso is working
They're
differently.
exemplary.
Yeah, they're exemplary to what the situation requires, right? But what I'm saying is look at it from a brand point of view. Because now there's conversations that will go on the streets, on Twitter, and right? And remember, in reputation management, like you need to act immediately and protect the interest of the brand, right? Katlego is not that like he's a small piece in the puzzle, but he's what completes the puzzle, right? So without him, the puzzle is not complete. But then how do you then remove a piece that completes the puzzle? Because you need to know what actually is going to be the best thing for the brand. Hence, I'm saying contractually, you need to look at the obligations. Maybe there is a part in that particular contract that says, if you are scandalous or involved in this and that and that and that, we pull the plug.
So how do
and
they
he
define
signed
scandalous?
for that
but
contract.
then that's something to be interpreted. Like
That's
someone,
something to be
it takes someone.
interrogated.
It takes someone accusing you. Like it's a scandal. Someone
Hence,
can,
I go back to the
Yes.
point that organizations have a soul.
Yes.
Whoever developed the
Yes.
contract is a lawyer,
human being.
a lawyer expert, a human being. And when you box things like that, come situations like this, then what?
Yeah, but you also need to remember who you're representing, right? When you become a brand ambassador, you're no longer just Tholo Motaung. You are Tholo Motaung, the face of, right? Therefore, you need to uphold the standards of being that brand ambassador of that particular brand. And that's how we are going to identify with you. So now, if we identify with you, before we get the facts that you did whatever to your wife, you gave your wife STI, and remember as well, Katlego did not say anything immediately. Had he maybe defended himself immediately, it would have been a
No,
different
public
case.
did though.
Yeah,
They probably contacted him.
Yeah, immediately.
Maybe.
They spoke.
There
immediately.
probably was
They spoke
discussions
immediately.
behind the scenes.
You have to.
Possibly
You have to
behind
make
the
a phone
scenes.
call.
And I think what we are saying is we acknowledge what you're saying because they want to protect their brand, but the management of the issue without having an outcome that is factual, that's the issue. Because then what if there were claims about Elena Africa that came otherwise?
Yep.
Would you drop her again and go for
Exactly.
another
And then
person?
Of course.
And keep
now
doing
you
that?
develop a
Yes.
negative reputation
For
as
yourself,
an
as a brand,
institution
yes.
that doesn't support its employees. Let me put a different spin to it. In 2000, 2001, 2002, Kobe Bryant plays for the LA Lakers. He is the reason why they win NBA championships. NBA championships are very difficult to win. There are 30 teams that play for them over 10 months. So he's their superstar alongside Shaquille O'Neal at that time. He is accused of rape. Now, NBA players are offered vagina, or musicians even are offered vagina on a regular basis. Maybe sometimes 30 women per day. And sometimes people fornicate, right? And it's something that they agree to. It's consensual. This woman belatedly says that she's been raped. Now, LA Lakers have a decision to make because without Kobe Bryant, they don't win championships. But what they do in the meantime is to allow the trial to take place without him, and he wins that case, so he gets acquitted. He comes back, he wins championships with the LA Lakers. Fast forward, Cristiano Ronaldo, maybe 2018, maybe 2017, he plays for Real Madrid. Real Madrid, there's something called the UEFA Champions League. It's a trophy that has never been won 2 times by the same team in a row because it's very difficult to win it. You can win it this year, it's almost guaranteed that next year someone else is going to win it. But Cristiano Ronaldo from Portugal plays for Real Madrid. He wins this trophy for them, alongside, of course, his teammates. He wins it 3 times in a row. Something that doesn't happen. You only win this shit once, and someone else must win it, even though you will be there participating. That's how difficult it is. But they win it 3 times in a row with Real Madrid. That's how iconic it is. He gets accused, to have raped. and they deal with it. But in the meantime, Madrid are, supporting him. They're like, yo, deal with this shit, blah, 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 with your lawyers and your representatives. And they deal with it. They sign a non-disclosure agreement with the women. Not that because they are admitting guilt, but they are rather just dealing with it so that it doesn't become a continuous problem, a pain in the ass for them, right? Now, institutions, I bring that up to say, institutions are very selective in how and who they deal with. If a nigga we can calculate that he brings us $1 billion per year, they will stand by him. But if it's someone who doesn't bring them value to the tune of 100 million per year, they throw him under the bus. And I think that this is what happens with black men. I think over the last 20 years, our stature as black men has been eroded so that every time there's a negative allegation around us, it's easy to throw us under the bus. That is why, and interestingly, I spoke to Upi Kosa now with the episode that I just did now. He said the reason why he watches the idols is because of Somizi. There's no idols without Somizi. And I was counter-arguing that idols existed way before Somizi. But he was saying, yo, maybe the ratings are probably way higher as a result of Somizi.
Why are they falling now?
But my point is that idols have been able to quantify the rand value that Somizi brings, and that's why they're standing. That's why they're standing up for him, even when he's facing negative criticism, allegations. So these brands are not being ethical or being moralistic when they stand by people or fire people. It's all about when we have you next to us, how much money are we gonna make? When we have you no longer next to us, how much money are we gonna lose? And that's the logic. That's the logic of capitalism. How much money are we going to make? And that's it.
But it also goes back to who's at the helm of those particular brands, because now it could be you,
That's
and
where
you
the
could say
power
we are
lies.
standing with him. But if it's somebody else that says, look, I'm not going to be associated with this, and I'm pulling the plug right here, right now, let them go sort themselves out. Even if they are acquitted of those particular accusations, I still don't want them back, because they went through this, they went through that particular bad phase of reputation, and like there was so much crisis management that needed to be done. We are done with this particular individual, and we move on to the next. And if we get the next person and they're also scandalous, then we move on like that. There's brands that are actually willing to spend money like that, part with you, and actually spend more money getting in more talent. Because now,
100 million
if you
is a lot of
don't
money.
necessarily
It
uphold
also-
our standards,
The
then
money,
why not?
boils
yo,
down to
Nhlanhla,
that.
bruh, I get your point, and I know that you work with companies.
Yeah.
In particularly in that capacity, you know sales and you know marketing. But I'm telling you, bruh, at an executive level, if we are gonna lose 100 million by losing this individual, trust me, there
You'll
was
keep him.
Tiger Woods, 20 white women. Tiger Woods, 20 white women, bruh. Like, think about it.
Yeah.
20 white women. He slept with me too. All of them, like in the 7-day period, but everyone making allegations. Nike stood by him because he was the first and only $1 billion athlete at the time. It's all about money. It's not ethical. It's not moralistic. Those motherfuckers, if you're gonna make them money, then they will stand by you. And that's always like
So it boils down to that: who makes the decision at the end of the day?
Because he also has a lifetime contract with Nike, so they had no way.
Oh my God! And I gave you that Nike. I gave you that book. You must read that book. But I gave you that Phil Knight book. You must read. The owner of Nike has a book, and there's stories there about how they cut certain contracts. You must read that book when you have the chance. That book that I gave you. The owner of Nike would have cut that. That guy, Phil Knight. He's a man of integrity. Like it's almost similar to me that he would not similar. I'm copying his style, not overrating myself. Sorry, I'm copying his style. That you listen to what happened. Try and have an original stance of supporting your people. What happened? Okay, cool. Then you make a decision from there. But always defend your people. Like the people that are on your team. That's why they will die for you, because they know if there's a scandal. Like there was a book. The young nigga was supposed to write Junior Kanye's book. Ghetto Ninja is the book now. Can you please just pass me that book, the one on top? So Junior has this book that he wrote with Niklaus Kirkinis. This one. This is the official one that he has. But before this, there was something called Truth Without Words that was supposed to be written by him and this other young nigga who caused a stir for us. He spoke to clientele representatives, and Musa Khawula made that revelation that Junior, and it came across as if he was scammed. What happened was, it's like me and Nhlanhla agree that we will do a book. We try to do it, and Nhlanhla is the author. I'm trying to locate Nhlanhla for like a year or two. There's no communication between us. I'm trying to get you like, let's write this book. Eventually, I get someone who Nicholas Kirkinis wrote Teko Modise's book. That's the other book,
The other one.
Yeah.
right? So that's the Cross of Teko Modise, Nicholas Kirkinis. So I eventually then settled with the author, who's an experienced person who's done a football book before, because this one that we agreed with is not taking the responsibility to do this shit, right? And eventually this book is written. Ghetto Ninja, right?
yeah.
So even if there was an agreement or no agreement between Junior and the other young nigga, they can still write a book. Maybe they will write a children's book, but their book was not Ghetto Ninja. It was supposed to be Truth Without Words, but that young nigga was not available. I remember when I first started working with Junior, it was not available. Now, where this comes in with what we were discussing is that Musa Khawula reveals this, and it becomes my problem. I'm chilling on a Friday night, and it has to become my problem because I'm the first person who gets these messages and calls.
Hey, Musa.
Oguti, your
Hey.
person is trending for all the wrong reasons because apparently he scammed this nigga. I'm like, oh no, I remember I was there when this thing was around the
Was
time
it
that.
factual when you decided?
So what it posted was that young man gave that young man. It was as if that young man gave Junior 35,000. And then the book was not done. But that's not what happened. It was not factual. But Musa was then receiving and posting the information without verifying it with Junior.
That's the problem with
Yeah,
it.
well,
It's
so,
got that tendency.
so I had to deal with that. In the way that I was dealing with it is that quickly, within minutes, I'm literally in a 1 hour phone call. What are we going to say to the media? You are going to say no comment. I'm telling him. You're going to say no comment. You are not going to get fired. Don't worry. Because that's the first thing black men think now. He's frantic. He thinks, no, calm down. You're just going to say no comment, and that's going to be our stance. I was there when this thing was happening. And there on the clientele legal letter, there's like 30,000. He must be compensated to the tune of 30,000. Yeah, but where is that number coming from? For what? You know, and that's not even a lot of money. But how did you get to the calculation of you are owed 30,000? Just because Nhlanhla and I have said we should do a book together. And then when I'm saying, okay, you want to be the author now, I'm trying to allocate you all the time, the whole year. You are not forthcoming. I can't get you. You know, so that's the situation. But then as a brand, as a person who leads a brand, it's like, yo, talk to your people. What happened? Fortunately, I was there. It's not a hearsay. I was there when we were doing matches and they were speaking on the phone. We would talk about it. I'm like, who the fuck are you trying to contact? What's the hold up with this book now? Because he went to SABC One and Supersport. He would say, my book is going to come out. It's called The Truth Without Words, which is not this book. So eventually, even if it can go to court, they would settle on doing Truth Without Words.
Yeah.
And we could troll him and say, give him 10 pages worth of a book, because you didn't agree on what is going to be there. Give him fictional stories that's going to be called Truth Without Words, even if you do a children's version of it. And call it Truth, we have fulfilled the obligation that we verbally agreed to. Yeah, but so that's like, as a brand, dealing with those kind of things. But anyways, I'm sorry for digressing. So yeah, you had beef with Musa, or what's your problem with Musa?
No, I just don't like his style. I think when you report, you have a responsibility to bring people factual stuff, you know, and now you're seeing a pattern of him reporting things that are not true, that are not factual. So now you start questioning even other stuff that is reported on that are actually true, you know. I mean, with the recent one that Dineo sent his co-host to McDonald's during a show, like who in their right mind would I wouldn't agree when you send me to go buy chicken licken now. Like, I mean, we're supposed to be working, right? And I mean, everybody knows that on that day they had a McDonald's campaign. That's why he was at McDonald's.
I don't think it's reporting per se. Ne? I've seen him doing that like a lot of times. He just says that to get people's attention. And then he'll then
But
unpack.
then there are other stories.
No, but
Take
Unrest
Lerato
But
Kganyago story.
you still have to be
Which one?
responsible. Though.
Yeah, that she's not owning anything at that hotel.
And then
that she's
she
not
later
and then she later brought
posted
evidence to
that
say
she
this
actually
is,
does.
you
But
get
it
what I
was
mean?
not just him that said that. There was a
Yeah,
management
but
company
I'm
that posted
specifying
the
about him because I'm
statements.
seeing a trend. That's my issue.
Yeah, but
Th-
the
there's-
thing is, ne, I not that I get what he's doing, right? And I'm not speaking on his behalf for any reason. But Unali, like, he's got a way of poking people, and then once people are poked, then the truth will come out.
No.
It's just his way of getting more followers.
There could be a better way of sparking conversations that not coming with.
It's how he's doing it. He doesn't have to be like anybody.
But it's not working for him because
It is.
I think
You're talking about
that's why.
He's getting traction
But then
because
people
of
are not.
We can agree that there are irresponsible instances where the factuality can be questioned, but he is like getting hundreds of thousands of people.
And for the fact that people want to come onto that space and rectify things, what does it mean for his profile? It means his profile is growing. What does it mean from not really brands wanting to associate themselves? It's that thing, if I've got a scandal and I want to get back at Nkululeko, the first person I'm going to think of, it's going to be him. And I know that once it's there, it's going to trend.
No, for him, like he could be, well, fuck Twitter, man. But for him, he could have been a nobody, right? But he's found a way to have 300,000, 400,000 followers. And whenever he goes on Twitter Spaces, there are like 40,000 people who listen. I'm with you on this. Me and you, we agree on this issue. But I'm just saying, on his perspective, he's built himself a brand name out of nothing. Like, he's at home, sitting, chilling, using Wi-Fi or data, and he's managed to get to be the center of attention as it relates to entertainment news. One day, Musa Khawula will get a screenshot of one of the women that I sleep with, and it's gonna be negatively affect me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that I agree or disagree with what it does. I'm just saying on the perspective of making yourself a brand name, he's somehow managed to make himself a brand name. Now there is a problem, of course, about the factuality of some of the stories, like you're saying.
And what value does he derive out of that?
No, but Brian, would you rather be known by 0 people or 400,000 people? That's what the perspective I'm answering you on.
It's from that one.
Yeah, like would you 400,000 people, and it's gonna get to 500,000 soon, and a million. Like Chris Esther was celebrating a million. Yeah, but so there is value to them. Like it works, and also there's something that no one pays attention to. Someone who has propaganda, want to propagate their agenda, can speak to him and get like 20,000, and they could drop a series of stories that are positive or negative about him, and that becomes the portal. Because think about it, SABC One, to be on SABC One, to advertise on SABC One, you need like 100,000, sometimes 500,000, depending on whether it's prime time or whatever, to advertise there, and possibly you could have active people watching 500,000 or even more. Musa has put himself in a position where he's broadcasting things, whether visuals, videos, or screenshots, or doing these live things that he does, Twitter Spaces. He can make money, but without the audience knowing. There are people who can propagate their agenda through him, who gives him 10,000, who gives him 20,000, that he works with. And then he will drop positive stories. There's whoever, Nhlanhla doing something on the Mandela Foundation with children, giving school shoes or whatever. If she shares it on her own platform, possibly 200 people can see it. But if Musa Khawula shares it on his platform, anywhere between 50,000 and more people could see it, which is maybe lower, slightly lower. But generally the idea is that he could sell that space. And I'm sure there are celebrities who are already buying it. I'm with you that the factuality, I don't even follow Twitter, but I'm with you that the factuality should be questioned as well. Any other stories that he did wrong that he was caught on about?
Besides those ones,
the few, it's just
because even the junior story was a stew story, but I can't fight Musa with that. It's like someone sent him the information and then he broadcasted it.
That's what
and other people have said they're taking him to court. So and my question was, does he have the necessary backup to basically manage such things?
Someone said he has a criminal record?
No.
When I remember when he was fighting with, who's this one that they are fighting to get the female? She mentioned something about criminal record or killing people, something like that.
Yes, I remember that one.
Because I was actually at the time trying to get an angle to interview. Like I wanted to, even if he was a mask.
Yeah, but there was a story about him killing his partner or boyfriend, somebody of that sort.
He killed someone. Or something like that.
And the family was upset about it.
Banjo, you've just said
Allegedly.
Allegedly. That's what I'm saying. There was a story about him that he killed a boyfriend or a partner, and he went in for a day or two, and that the family was upset that because is in the media, is known, then,
Is it the face that
regardless,
is on the profile? Is it the person on the profile picture, or it's like Chris XL, not the person who's on the profile?
I'm not certain. I have not seen him in
also don't
person.
know.
Yeah, that's when I gave up the hope of interviewing him. When I heard that, I was like, nah, this nigga will probably not want to be anywhere. Like they would just prefer to not be known
And
by
stay.
people.
If you report that way, you'd want to hide your face.
Yeah.
Hey, he makes
You'd
it.
want to- No, the thing is, it's devastating to other people. Stories
Yeah.
that you create have impact in other people's lives, and it's not affecting only them; it affects their families as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So there's something about Soul and Dineo and Kaya FM and Letters and trending. And there's a lot. I've never listened to that show. I don't listen to Kaya FM. You guys know this more than I. What's happening with that?
So apparently Dineo, right? She is known because that's how she's actually trending right now. She's known to pull men down. She knows she's one to dominate in conversations. I mean, there was a video clip that was doing rounds where she was actually bashing the ex, telling the ex where to get off, telling the ex that she stayed in a marriage for 4 months and he let him go. Like, it's the manner of approach and how she speaks to people. But the reason she's currently trending between her and Saul is the fact that she is taking over the show. It looks like it's a one-man show, yet Saul is supposed to be the co-host. Saul is a great co-host, but he deserves to be with a lady. These are words that were like,
Going out
on social media to say he deserves to be with a lady because he brings just as much value as Dineo is. But Dineo wants to shine on that show. Dineo wants to be the one that, it's like a Dineo show. It's not like a Dineo and Saul. So,
All right. So
she's just
you're
taking over
telling us what the streets are saying.
what the streets are saying.
What
yeah.
is your perspective of that situation?
With the clips that I've seen, I've not necessarily listened to the show. So with the clips that I've seen how she dominates the show. And I think personality-wise, right? It's not who she is. I think as people, right, we find ourselves in surroundings where we need to do better. Even if we bully, right? There's a place where your bulliness is just not going to work. And I think that particular space offers Udineo to become a better person, to handle her mental issues better. Because that's the excuse that she'll always bring out to say, no, I've got mental issues that I need to deal with and all of those things. So it's the manner in which she's carrying herself. And it's the excuse
have you listened
that
to
comes
Essential
with
Rush?
it after.
Do you remember listening to
Actually, and
yes,
Dineo.
yes.
No.
How was she then? Because I listened to that show when I came to Joburg for the first time in 2006.
I think because
And
she was
might have been
starting
different
out.
at the time.
That's what,
She was starting out.
That's what
at that time.
that's what I want to get to. That she's an experienced broadcaster, an experienced broadcaster. I have not been in media for long, but I understand that there's three of us.
Yep.
I should acknowledge each of you when you need to speak, and I can't just cut you. If I do, I have to apologize.
Sure.
You get what I mean? And I sometimes co-host my radio shows with other people, and you understand that you're co-hosting. It's not you alone. I mean, you can look even. You can see on the clips even how she sits. Like you can see she wants to take over the space. I mean, there's a video. It's funny when people look at it, but for me, it really hit very hard. Where Saul is raising his hand, more like recognize that I'm present, And she keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. As an experienced broadcaster, that is totally wrong. This is a show that you do together.
That made me get into my feelings. I saw it, but I couldn't complete looking at it.
Yeah, and the fact that you see few videos, not just one. If it was one, you'd say, maybe it was just that moment, But now it's few videos that you see, and it's a pattern that happens, And you can see that she's intentional about it, how she does it. I don't know if it's conscious or unconscious, but it's intentional. You can see even her body language.
Before we recorded, I was asking you that isn't she aware that Saul has such a huge following himself that people are going to bring this up?
But probably that can come as a threat to her to try to dominate the show. So she's seen as this strong woman that can, take control and be there. But the downside of it is she's a co-host. And she needs to allow Saul to come in. I mean, Saul's followers actually said, we're now not going to listen to this because we love Saul, we respect Saul from other platforms, and you cannot be doing this to Saul. So what we can do is we'll not listen so you can lose the numbers and actually see that Saul is actually bringing more numbers than you do.
But also it could be a factor bringing in the numbers. Because remember, controversy drives us to
Oh, yeah.
a
I
specific
said that,
point.
yeah.
So now, if it's that thing, like Saul, Dineo, this and that, you'd want to listen to the show and actually just hear if this is true or not. And of course, they'll be like, well, it's unfortunate. It's not like YouTube where the numbers are instant, where you can actually see this week that we've picked up because this is trending and all of those things. They'll have to wait a while longer to actually check if like the numbers have spiked
But
or
would
have the
Saul
numbers dropped.
allow himself to be in that situation, knowing he's got such followership?
It's all, you see, that show was always going to be a double-edged sword, because one, it replaces Kumba and Thomas, and that's a shocker in and of itself, that you are walking into a scenario where people are unhappy in the first place to lose Kumba, especially because Kumba is full of jokes every morning, and people who follow Kaya FM, and this is me just reading articles and reading people what they're thinking on digital platforms, and you realize what they were unhappy. Now, within weeks of you guys being there is this now new dynamic, and I'm going to talk to Saul at some point soon, and I'm going to explore this with him. I'm going to ask him questions about this. That it's probably one of the worst things that can ever happen to you. That it's a blessing and a curse, because you're getting the bag, right? Because you are in Kaya, right? But then you are walking into a show where original fans didn't want to end, right? And now you're also walking to another challenge of a co-host who doesn't want to give you an in. You know, that's why I asked you, like, how was she like though on Essential Rush? Because she could not have done, if the hypothesis is that she dominates men, she wasn't dominant on Chile M.
She wasn't.
She would never dominate Chile M, because Chile M was a god on the microphone. That
but
nigga
also,
was a
I
god
think
on
it
the
was her
microphone.
starting point. It was an entry point into the radio world, whereby I think she was still learning a certain thing or two, and maybe she had not gone through most of the things that she's gone through now, because like, you know, the mental illness, the this and the that, they come with life, its challenges, and then you become a certain character because of how life has treated you in the recent years. So maybe that's where all of that is coming from. So at that time, she was learning, and it was such a good balance, because it was clear who the host of the show was and who the co-host of the show is. So right now, I guess we do not know or the host Kimang and who's the co-host.
So
Because
she's
they're
trying
supposed
to let you guys know that.
Maybe she's trying to let us know. It's
And she
my
doesn't
show,
even have to. She
and
doesn't
Saul
have to.
is co-hosting with me in the show.
But
Maybe
if
that's
you're not
why.
giving him a chance to say anything, then you're not acknowledging his presence. As much as you're hosting and he's your co-host, you need to allow him a chance, because he's a co-host.
Yeah.
You know,
It's such an easy thing.
for me, I
it's such
always
an
say
easy
this.
thing. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
It's an easy thing. I've worked with so many people who are coming up. It's like, yo, you do sports on my show. When I was doing Massive Metro, I had like over the course of a year, I have 2 or 3 people who do sports on my show, and I'm the anchor. And I'm like, yo, fuck it, let's do it. Even though she's supposed to just come at 1:30, but no, let's do the whole show if you want to. Because I know, like, it's so important that you would gain that experience.
True.
So an hour would be valuable than for you to do 2 minutes of just doing sports bulletin. I did this with Tsepi Khanye. I did this with Itumeleng Banda. Those young women now are doing shows, SABC1 and shit like that. Because it's like, yo, we can share this platform. It doesn't... Because now you are creating a new controversy as opposed to let's do this. Because even this thing of raising a hand, I learned it when I was working with other people, Lebo Macfish, Lebo Jabopule, that instead of just jumping and asking the question, because in an interview, we have to do this tag thing. So sometimes the interview is done via the phone. The person who's on the phone cannot look at us and say, okay, this one wants to ask the next question. So we'll do this with Macfish and Jabopule. You know what I'm saying? I would be the main anchor and I would write questions for them. But the way I would know that it's their turn, sometimes we do this. And sometimes we just go in. There's no formula to this thing. But don't cause yourself unnecessary drama. You see now, we're even talking about it here. And other people are talking about it on Twitter.
And that's the thing.
You know?
I mean, when you raise your hand twice
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, the first time we can say, you know, like you were in it. But once you raise a hand for the second time, I need to pay attention.
And you need to look out for that hand because it's your partner.
Exactly.
You need to look out for that hand.
But you also need to find a workflow.
Yeah.
Like as co-host,
Yeah.
right? Where to say, okay, fine. When I'm getting a bit strong here, he'll balance me out. When I'm a bit weak here, because like I think that's the nature of co-hosting anyway on radio, where like, you know, we come in and we know that this is your strength and we let you flow with that part, and then I'll come in and then at some point we'll have a conversation, because I think that's what makes a radio show work as far as teams and co-hosting is concerned. But then she understands that, but she just loves being controversial. Like, let's just not shy away from that. o rata attention.
She
you know?
does. She does.
She really does.
And I think because she's not being cancelled, it's gonna be tough. Because I feel like she gets away with a lot of things that are wrong, and she should come and she acts like a narcissistic person that will project things. Say it's for my health, for my well-being. I'm doing this and try to justify things that you sit there and think, but that is wrong. Your approach is not right. I mean, the video that we've seen where he was talking to the guy, for me is you can express yourself in a much more a way that is more respectful and that will have more impact than standing above a person, because the guy was sitting down and talking to him and pointing. You can easily sit down and say, look, dude, I don't like 1, 2, 3, 4. This is how I feel with 1, 2, 3, 4. And here, why were they doing what they're doing? But making noise and shouting and all of that, and say it's for your mental health, you worsening it. You're causing it worse, because you're aggravating yourself to get to that level. It doesn't matter how angry you are. Take a moment, with yourself. Have what I call a bathroom moment. Like, get yourself in a bathroom or somewhere quiet. Think about the situation. Then you can deal with it differently. For me, you're a public figure. What you do has an impact in the society, and that's what you also have to think about. You have that responsibility. Once you're a public figure, you have a responsibility to the society, because there are a lot of people that look up to you. And when you do certain things, young girls are going to look at you and like, I want to be crazy like her. That's how they're going to put it. I want to be crazy like her.
I want to dominate men like her.
There's an interesting thing though, like with these reality TV shows, doesn't it blur the lines with people about what is reality and what isn't? Because the Ranakas, wasn't she part of that shit?
She was.
And they create reality, they create dramatic moments, and so when they then come back to real life, it's like
they forgot.
And even without forgetting, like, they're continuously in the state of always wanting to create. Because a reality TV show is not you being lousy and us recording you for 3 hours. It's like every time we're gonna record, your mother and your father must sit you down and tell you that how were you conceived, whether there's a need for DNA. You already know the results, but like there's a need for DNA. The other one, I want to have children, but I had miscarriages 2 times. Like, it's never a moment where people are being bored.
She's always been feisty. I mean, from Dineo's Diary season 1. From Dineo's Diary season 1. Think from there.
That's what I'm saying.
She's always been.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you blurred the line of continuously having to create. Because even guys like Somizi and Kelly, because they have these reality TV shows, somehow there's an expectation for them to live out these reality TV shows. Because even when they go to a restaurant, which is a setting for the reality TV show, there must be security clearance, make sure that there's no one who's going to disturb the actual thing that we're doing on the show. You do that too many times and you live in that world. That's why the Kardashians, like, they can't have children normally. There must be an announcement that needs to be made and shit like that. Like, you can't just have a kid and it be a surprise. Oh yeah, you have a kid, you were pregnant. There must be an announcement. There must be some drama as well. I think maybe that's that as well. Like, there's something that
probably.
Yeah, well, and I agree with you, brother. You make a fucking dope point that you are a public figure, and whatever you do, the way you carry yourself as a woman out there, you are giving a template to other younger kids who go to, this is the way. You are berating men. And it's such a dangerous situation because that man was sitting down. He can kill you with his own hands. He can kill you with his own hands. You don't recognize his power, that he can physically overpower you and strangle you. You don't even understand the danger of the situation, that you can humiliate him to a point where he can be enraged and kill you from that perspective. But anyways, I wanted to ask something as well. Is she dope on radio? Like, what is her skill? Like, I'm sure she is because she was on Metro and Kaya FM. But what is it about her? Does she do dope interviews? Is she great in music or a great presenter? What is her skill? I've never really listened to that lady.
I think her skill is her presenting skills. Like, she's just amazing, when it comes to that. Interviews as well. But now with the nature of radio, remember, like, you only have like a couple of minutes to ask questions.
And they write those questions for you.
Yeah, so there's ads, and now you can't have follow-up questions. So you move from one question to another. So it sort of limited her strength, in us understanding like how far greater can she be when it comes to radio.
Sure.
So I think her skill set, like her amazingness comes from the way that she
ability
presents.
to deliver,
it's her
content.
And this is
presentation.
unanimous in the country that people think she's dope.
Look,
Yeah.
I haven't listened to her on Kaya, but I know from Metro, and that's why I was having that gripe that I felt like she could not move from Metro, particularly because also how the show was structured was giving her, an opportunity to also, express a gift or
yes,
use her
I
gift
spoke about
of impacting people's life in a positive way. So for me, she's brilliant in terms of delivering content. I think that's what I'm saying. She's a seasoned broadcaster, and that's why I don't understand why things that happen. But she's really a good
How does
one.
Saul get out of this before we move on to something else? How does he get out of this? Does he confront it, ask for a meeting, talk on the phone?
That's the best thing. Not even on the phone. They need to get in a room with a mediator and express himself, because it's all wrong.
Yeah, with the producer as well.
Yeah.
Because, it all goes back to you as a producer, because it's your show. Remember, the ratings, whether they go up or down, as a producer, you get affected. So I think the producer needs to mediate this one, to say, guys, we are trending for wrong reasons. And
That's difficult.
Because that's where... No. Remember, this is the person that gives you guys a script. To say, you speak, you speak. And
at Massive, the producer is the lowest paid person in the dynamic. So this is you, producer. We are presenters. So at Massive, they took this formula of having big personalities, DJ Spoo, Thembisa, whatever. So even with that dynamic, also not Dineo Ranaka, like they are big. So whoever is the producer is like in an inferior position.
Yeah.
So that's like he's probably
But
the
that's
last person
that's
to
why I was saying
approach
a
it.
mediator, because it could be somebody from
Yes,
HR
yes,
as
someone
well.
that can respect as well.
Ideally, a producer and somebody from HR,
Yes.
because from HR perspective, you'll know how to handle such conversations, right? But they have to get to a point where they talk about it, because as I said earlier, that from Dineo, it could be conscious or unconscious, right? Because they just got on the show. So probably she's into it and she doesn't realize what she's doing. But with the discussions or sitting on the table, that perhaps can bring it to, to conscientize her.
Yeah, they need someone they can respect,
know.
because the producer is writing for them.
Yeah.
Like literally, the producer in that dynamic is the lowest paid person, plus the social media, whoever is doing the social media, right? Because when you have a station that has mega stars, other ones on 60 to 100,000, and other ones on 100 to 150,000, the producer's like on 20,000 if they are lucky enough.
Makes sense.
So it's like that's the last person that they respect. But yeah, like.
And that's the person that makes them look good.
Yes, they write the questions. That's why I didn't like doing the production thing. I did not like... You guys are asking my questions there. Like, Macfish, Chabapole, you guys are asking my questions. I am literally designing the show. When I do radio, I don't work with producers. I do my own show. Because I don't want anyone to live vicariously through me. I don't write questions so that I can ask them. I speak to whoever I want to speak to.
Yeah. But she's a good broadcaster.
Would you be able to mediate?
of course. Yeah, they must call me in. Yes.
Will you manage? Will you manage that energy?
Of course I will. Hey, no.
What will be the first thing you do?
Okay, bring them into a room and let's talk. Right? You were brought into the show. This show has got a history, right? It had this and this person that walked this mile, and you are coming in to reach this mile, and that's the mile that we're trying to reach. So currently, here is this thing. Now bring the clips on, right? Hear yourselves. Hear yourselves and tell me how you both rate yourselves. And then I think from there, then one will say, Ish, I'm seeing or I'm dominating or I'm not dominating.
Yeah.
It's just better to rate yourself than get the output of people. Because then when you rectify your own mistakes, it's likely that you will resolve all those things. So you bring in the evidence and say, okay, fine, listen to this clip, listen to that clip, listen to this clip, listen to this clip. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. Why was this happening? Was your point not So from there, I think we'll have a conversation that we can all go forward with.
So what's
just
the
ask
role
them.
of the station manager? Because it's something that the
just-
station manager should be doing.
It is something that the station manager
The
should
station
be
manager
doing.
should be doing that
But-
shit.
Or even programs manager.
Yeah, something like that. Like
Yeah.
whoever
Yeah,
manages
somebody
the
who-
program.
Yeah, because I think the
Because they
station manager
oversee
Kiana or
the
Mamelang
such,
and
okay.
actually, gets to hear that
This
there's an
combination will
imbalance.
not combine
It's
in.
not good. It's not. Maybe the station manager has tried, but he's just been told that, hey, do what you have to do.
That's the fucked up thing
Keep the
about
show
big
going.
personalities.
Shouldn't that be the last person to speak?
The station manager.
Yeah.
No,
Go on,
not
man,
really.
like maybe he's the programs manager. whatever the line of reporting is,
Yeah.
there's someone who's made responsible for the sound of the station. And this is the person who introduces Snoop sessions.
Technical producer.
No, the technical producer they are helping with the clips and stuff like that. They're cutting clips, right? If there's a news clip that they need to cut, they cut. If there's something that's happening on social media, they need to listen to it, clear it, find out there's no vulgar language, and then make it sound decent for it to be played on radio, right? So the producer does the show, calls people, whoever the guests are, make sure that the guests come in. But there is the one who is responsible. I think it's like you're saying,
programs
programs manager, the one who's responsible for sound. If we are a classical music radio station, I'm making sure that everything on the playlist is classical music, and people are coming here, they're not using vulgar on air, blah 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 blah, and the listeners are connecting with the personalities. So I think that's like the role of that person. This is the person who would do Snoop sessions with us. Snoop session is literally just let's listen to your show randomly, and if it's cool, it's cool. That's why I actually stopped having this dream of radio. It's like, I don't want to be managed. I don't want you to listen to my shit. If you listen to it and I'm not good enough, you can fire me. I won't even take you to court. Like, because I know I'm good at that shit. Like, I don't want you to be like my teacher. You are next to me and I'm next to you and I'm listening to myself. Like, fuck you. I already know, like, you hired me because I was dope at this shit. Yeah, but this would be an instance where they need to do it. Yeah, but man, guys, this even if it's a small clip. But this thing is not working out. And I think it can be resolved easily. If those pieces of shit don't have big egos and stuff like that, I get. Because that happens, Brian. In environments where people are famous, it's like, oh, these niggas are just pieces of shit. We're trying to resolve something so small, but it becomes a big thing because they have a following. And because can you imagine, on the other side, Dineo's people are saying, you are right, girl. Mugel, right. They are the wrong people.
Pushing Toyako.
Yeah, well, exactly.
They don't want to acknowledge you because you're a woman.
Yeah. She's getting
black women in this country are marginalized. Black women in this country are looked
you
down.
finally get it now. They're saying,
"Hi, yeah, when a girl, womandla."
Someone is purposely misleading her.
Plus, it's Women's Month.
So go for it. When a girl, Women Crush Wednesday. So you get to those things. So
Thembisa opened Women's Month with a bang. Literally.
Literally with a bang.
Did we get to hear what they were protesting for?
Service delivery.
So, service delivery, but one of the things that stands out, they complain about electricity, that it's too expensive, so they get little units compared to what they're paying for, and then it's general service delivery. But top of the list, it's an issue of electricity. And then there's been reports as well that the mayor said he'll be available to address them on Friday. So it means in the meantime, they can do whatever they want. He doesn't have time for that. He'll come on Friday, which for me is a concern. As I said last week, that how do you leave such things to run for such a long time? Whatever it is that he has to attend to, I'm sure this has to be a priority, because if the people that live there say there's no one going out or coming in, and they've already burnt municipality offices, they're closing the roads, that when you're sitting at night, what are you thinking? When you're looking at the news reports, what are you thinking? Where you have to account for such things. Can't you even send a representative to go and address it?
I saw a white woman there. I think the DA is there's a coalition government. Right?
Yes.
I'm so sorry not being able to remember her name, but I did see some sort of representation. I think it was such a bad situation because there were helicopters flying on the first day. You know, when it's bad, it's a build up to it being bad. On the first day, there were helicopters flying, and you could see people blocking roads, and there were reports, whether factually or not, I wasn't sure, I couldn't verify, of a police station being invaded, and then there were people who were killed as well, either by the Metro Police or by the protesters.
I know on Monday there was a report that one person died.
Yes,
I'm not sure after that.
Yes, and then the next day there was a woman who had died. I don't know whether it was related to that, but within the vicinity there, there was a body of a woman that was found as well on the next day after the protest. So it's a very difficult situation.
And what I fear is when you leave such things to be prolonged, is that they can spark on other parts of the
Anarchy.
country. Remember what happened last year with looting? It started in KZN and it was not contained. Then the next thing it was Soweto, the next it was Thembisa, it was all these different places. So I don't know if our government is not learning from experiences, or it's just the arrogance, so they just don't care, or what's going on. But for me, there's negligence that is happening here.
Comrades are busy.
With what?
With the ANC,
they should be busy with us.
With the ANC policy conference. Look, I agree with you 100%. And that's likely what's going to happen. We are seeing an increase in everything, right? We are not necessarily being addressed and being put first as South Africans, right? So all these things will come together at once. So Ilimpopo or Sishikho might come out and say, we are being killed. Krugersdorp will come back and say, we reported that there's 20 men that raped 8 girls here. I spoke to the Minister of Police and nothing is being done. So like the people of Klerksdorp will then come out and also want to protest. The people of Potchefstroom will say, we've been reporting this and that and that and that. It's not happening. And then other people will come in and say, we've been asking for this particular road to be constructed properly for this and that and that. Because you're right, once it happens in one area, it's the domino effect. It's likely to happen everywhere else. So what is the government doing? What is the Minister of Police doing? Honestly, like, he doesn't go out to these areas, right? And we don't hear of deployments of either soldiers, because I mean, we had soldiers during COVID-19. Imagine COVID-19, just to make sure that you're staying in the house, right?
Now
right
look at
now,
Thembisa.
you know what I'm
how many
saying?
days now?
Exactly,
You
and
don't-
there's nothing
I think
that's being
it would
done.
be a huge miscalculation. They need to address the situation
And manage the situation.
Yeah, and manage it. But the soldiers will be like a miscalculation, because it would be an antagonizing situation. It would be like, we are here. We've heard that you're doing violence. We are here for it. So it would be like a Marikana situation, and then people would die. I think if it happened like that, immediately.
They are
but
addressed,
I think it's
Nkululeko.
gonna-
Yeah,
If-
it
if-
does
I
need
think
to be
like
addressed.
you need to be addressing the
So you
people
need
of
to go
Thembisa,
there.
Address them
right?
first.
And
Yes,
say
you need to
if
go
there's
there.
no
look
change,
after
then
the municipal offices, because you're trying to reconstruct them. Then you deploy those people to look after those facilities,
No.
not to curb the
the
violence or
violence
anything
first,
that's going
yeah.
there.
So,
No, 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 no.
the
Because the
reason-
violence
the violence happens, similar
Yeah.
to the looting incidents that happened, but you are strategic in how you introduce the military.
Exactly,
You don't do it.
yes.
So I'm not saying allow the violence to happen, but now that the violence has happened, don't do it as an immediate answer, because what's going to happen is you're not going to avoid people being killed. I saw people with guns
Yeah.
there in those protests. So there will be a shootout. The military will win, obviously.
Yes.
But the last thing we need is 10 people dead. Those are our people. Like, all the time, we always have to say, and they're full of shit as well. Don't destroy your own clinic. We must always have this uncomfortable conversation with each other. We must protect each other as well. Those are our people. They have valid reasons to do what they're doing. But fuck, why are you destroying infrastructure that you're gonna need to use tomorrow? You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that as an overriding comment. I understand. My overriding comment is sympathy towards the guys in Thembisa. We are with you all the time. It's just that I would not want an army immediately, because I know what would happen.
Yeah.
We don't want our people to die in those. It's gonna be an antagonizing situation. I agree with you guys. Like, these things need to be dealt with.
and
they don't need to escalate at that level.
And there's so many task teams that are formed. And why isn't there a task team that is formed to deal with such matters?
That's
Because
true.
for me is, from every situation, you should be learning from it and preparing yourself that when it happens again, what is the procedure? What is it that you do to make sure that you contain it and you
Give them
address it on time?
350s and then you leave them alone.
Yeah,
But you're not solving the problem.
Yeah, but that's
how they
been
bribe
the trend.
people.
Because
Yeah.
it's the same thing of closing the potholes on top. When
Yes.
it rains, they open again.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
the 350 gets finished, then it comes back again.
Yeah.
Then what? You know, look at it as a sustainable plan, a long-term
Because
plan
what
that can
I've
work.
learned with Joburg townships ever since I moved here, and it's not common across the country, is that they actually have not a load shedding schedule, but power goes off. Like Khawula is from Katlego, and that she would have power problems when there's no load shedding. And Soweto, when I heard Justice who shoots for us at Itiski TV, he was renting there before he moved, and he was like, there was no power. Like, every time I want my content, there's no power. I didn't know that there's like a specific schedule for Soweto,
No, it
which
happens.
it goes like for 5 hours or something like that per day. And there's no way, and I've thought about it, I'm like, there's no way I could live normally then. I would always be chaotic. And I'm like, to make sure this thing does not happen.
Because you want attention. You
Yes.
want something to be done.
Yes.
And that's why I think they end up doing extreme things like burning buildings and all of that, because in their minds is, if we do this, then we can get attention. And
They'll
not that it's a
definitely
good
come.
thing to do, but you try to think that from their perspective, that's probably that what they're thinking.
Yeah,
that
that's your last
let's burn a
resort.
building, they'll come. Because
your
now
last
we've
resort.
been, singing and closing the roads, they're not paying attention. Let's do something extreme so now something can happen.
Yeah, wish all the best to the people of Thembisa. We know, of course, the country that we're living in, that nothing is ever resolved swiftly. But yeah, we wish them all the best. We understand, like, it's a very difficult situation because Nabo, as they're doing this thing, they're antagonizing the situation. Because then, you see how people are easily going to the military route. Now, if it's introduced there, Marikana happened because of that. Because there were like summary reports of the NUM workers were forcing their way to work, and then a few of them were killed by the AMCU workers, and then a few police officers. There was one tipping point where 1 or 2 police officers were alleged to have been killed, and that was either true or untrue, but as soon as it got circulated to people, to their colleagues, it became something that they used to begrudge the protesters. But then if you further down the line, you interrogate this thing, you know that this was just really a trick by the mine. And the people who got shot, particularly and deliberately the most times, were the ringleaders. Umambo Shimgcineni Noki, he was shot 15 times, whereas other people were shot randomly, like once or twice or something like that. They knew exactly who they were targeting. So every time we're antagonized as brown people with our own police, we always have to be very careful because they are always used against us by the system. We don't have a problem with police or the military. They don't have a problem with us because they become part of, whenever a police officer goes home after their shift, they are part of Thembisa.
They are.
They are one of
Definitely.
us whenever they go home.
Once they
after the
take
shift.
off that uniform, they
They are
definitely
part of they are part of them. So I'm always very careful. Like, I wish the best for all of our people. Every time they're gonna be confronting with police force or the military force, because I know both parties will always be used one against the other, and this is a global thing. Like, you are gonna be killed on behalf of capitalists, or on behalf of companies, or on behalf of government. Whereas you and I, police and me, we don't have a problem, the two of us. But anyways,
Talking about power, just got a notification. Power off from 8 tonight until 10:30. So there's load shedding stage 2 scheduled
So it's
until
back.
tomorrow at 12 midnight.
Hey, guess who's back?
yeah, it is back.
Yeah.
Load shedding is
It
back.
is back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same notification.
Like,
You wanted to say something about Beyonce?
Yo, yeah. Yo, look, there's alarming and shocking stats, right, regarding women in South Africa. Is it Krugersdorp?
yes.
Where 20 men, it was identified, Horkima Zamazama, it's the illegal foreigners from Lesotho, illegal miners. That have raped, as there was a shoot that was taking place there, and I don't know what they were filming. Was it a music video or?
Yeah,
but
it was a music
video. Was it a
it's
music
been
video?
reported as that, yeah.
As a music video,
Yeah.
and those 20 Zamazamas went in and raped 8 women. So 20 on top of 8 women, right? And then there was a woman who spoke directly to Peyicele, telling him, this is the norm. This is how we live here. This is nothing special. We are used to this. We are used to reporting these cases and absolutely nothing happens. And I don't remember the response that Peyicele gave. But then I was livid a couple of days ago when he said to a 19-year-old that you are lucky you got raped by one person. Other people get raped by 10 or more people.
What's like about that?
I'm like, a whole minister. How do you utter such words as a minister of like police? Like what sense is there? And I'm thinking that this guy, by the way, he's got a communications team, right? That is ought to help him how to address these issues. There's no way you can utter such words when you've got a team like that. What is his team doing?
Yeah, that's a good
And
point.
how honestly do you dare say such words, to say you are better raped by one? You are lucky. Actually, lucky is the word that he used. That you are lucky you got raped by one person. Other people get raped by 10 or more people. What is that supposed to say to that young lady
You're
that just
normalizing
got
rape in
raped?
that way.
Yeah.
You're
Hey?
normalizing
And it's a
it.
trend
Yeah.
with him.
Yeah.
It's a trend with him.
Yeah.
You mentioning the communications team is the most beautiful point, because that nigga is proving time and again that he's got the diarrhea of the mouth. Like, he just talks.
But,
He just
but
talks.
also, guys, remember the hierarchy in the government is, as much as you might be the advisor, you can give an advice, but Nkululeko as a senior will decide whether to
Yes,
take
what
it
it
or
does,
not.
yeah.
And he can go and mess up. After messing up, you're gonna come and clean
Yeah,
that
to
mess
clean
up.
the mess,
management,
That's
crisis
unfortunately,
management.
that's unfortunately how things are going. I mean, him and Fikile Mbalula during COVID, how they were talking to us as South Africans, they were like talking to kids, and you would not even talk to kids like that, you know. So you get it from there that these are people that have people around them that advise them, but they decide that I'm gonna go on and put it in the way that I want to.
Yeah, I mean, that's deplorable. This statement is deplorable. I actually didn't read it. Like, I chose not to read it because I saw the trauma about rape and it about being about Beyonce. I'm glad you're saying it, because I wanted to ask, is it true? Did you really say it? Because
He
I
did,
know
he did.
it's rape story and it's a traumatic thing for
He
me. I'm
did.
like, what the fuck is this? And that nigga is proving time and again to be irresponsible with the things that he said. I think the
Yeah.
African National Congress has really proven itself over the past 10, 15 years to be a very... No one is being consequenced consistently. When in Limpopo textbooks were not delivered for over 7 months, which is like first term, second term,
Yeah, and
it's half
almost
of the
into
year.
the third
Yeah,
term.
going into the third term, and nothing happened to Angie Motshekga. I think there's no consequence. There's no consistent pattern of people being consequenced for their portfolios or their ministry that they're presiding over. I think that it starts a trend, that whatever the fuck I do, because I mean, I was with Beyonce when he was saying to the Enyobeni parents, but still there was a lack of empathy, because you look at things all around. I was with him when he was saying, "Yo, bro, how do you guys allow your kids to go there?" Yeah, well, and people were shocked. Hi, well, we've lost 21 kids, and when that's the first thing you say. And I was with him on that perspective that we need to hit hard. But if I was him, like as a leader, empathy would be the foremost thing. Empathy would be the foremost thing in my statement. Would, yo, guys, I still call we really apologize for what has happened here, and then find a way when the cameras are off. Or would you guys, come on, man, we are parents. How is it that we don't know where our 12-year-old is at? But there's a consistent pattern of him saying the statements. I was with him when he was saying to the guy, "Shut up," in Cape Town, in Western Cape. But I was with him on a political point that white people have created those conditions for black people in Cape Town. So they are the last people to stand up and say anything. They must look at themselves first, because they created those townships the way that they are designed. And they are the beneficiaries of the space being created that way. But when it comes to Beyonce, if you look at him and observe him, you don't even have to look at older videos from 5 years ago. Every single time he has an opportunity to speak in front of people, there is a disrespectful tone, and it's attached or interlinked with the fact that he will never be consequenced. He will never be consequenced because he's within the ANC. Now, this says to the voter, this says to the South African who's eligible to vote, because last time around 8 million of them were eligible to vote, but they didn't go. Consequence the ANC then. If the ANC doesn't consequence its ministers, doesn't consequence its presidents, doesn't consequence its president or chairperson or deputy secretary, whatever, all of its office bearers, then you consequence it then. You consequence it then.
And by
Not by not going there.
Yeah.
Because that's not a consequence. Yes,
'cause
you are
they still
exercising your
remain,
right.
But unfortunately, when people don't see an alternative, they decide not to do anything, not to vote.
They are exercising their right
Because
not to
of-
vote, which is a democratic right, but you are affected by still them winning. Them winning is still affecting you one way or the other. 'Cause-
And I just want to go back
sorry.
to you saying there's no consequences when it comes to the ANC, which has been a trend that we've seen, I think, of recent times, right? Now you look at part of the reasons why that could be the case. So now remember ANC, Nivota Ngama regions, right? And the numbers, the membership that is existing to say this particular region has got so many active members of this particular party, right? So you are an active member, you are a card-carrying member, and you are eligible to vote within the party, right? So I look at that and I feel that the people with the majority say where the most people are at are the people that are least consequenced, because those are the people with the numbers. Those are the people that will determine which way the votes go.
Yes.
So now, for as long as those people are there and they've got the numbers, there's nothing that whoever is leading right there will do to them, because he knows that if I mess around with Tholo and Tholo comes from the region with the most ANC members, then there's no way I'm going to touch you, or the people that are associated or affiliated to you, because I know once I mess with you, I'm messing with my opportunity to serve or be there in the next term. So those are the things that we need to look at. And I don't know at what point could we have a discussion as the voters to say, this is how we want this thing to go, because democratically, what is our right besides voting? How do we extend our powers beyond putting that X on that ballot paper? How do I then bring on these conversations to make sure that us, as the citizens of South Africa, are put first, because we've pushed motions forward, and these are the motions that we are putting forward to say, if you've raped, if you've done this and that to a child, this is what the constitution is likely to look like, and these are the consequences that are there. But currently we do not have that. We know that we are voting, right? And post the votes, what then do we do? And why is it that the independent parties are slowly coming into power, but they don't necessarily know what to do? Because I spoke to a lady who's an independent candidate. I think she was watching, one of our episodes when we spoke about the independent candidates. I'm not sure which episode it was. Yeah. So we spoke about that. Was it 2 weeks ago, right?
And all this leading up to 2024.
Yes. So she contacted me and she said, look, I was watching that and I think we should have an extensive conversation with regards to that, because they would not know what to do in Parliament. They would not know what to do because they're not privy to information as to what needs to happen for you to become a member of parliament. And as a member of parliament, how do you exercise your rights? Up until where do you exercise your rights? So imagine if an independent candidate that went out, campaigned, and gotten a certain seat or seats in a particular region does not know how to exercise their powers. What about us as the voters of South Africa? And why does it have to be confined to the constraints of a political party deciding in their policy conferences to say the step aside rule, this and that and that and that and that, and then overall it still affects you and I in what we buy every single day, in how we live every single day. At what point? I'm looking forward to the day where coalition power...
It also talks to how active we are as citizens of this country, right? Because when you ask that as voters, when we get together, I think conversations have to start from your dinner table at home, to talk about that, from the brides that we have when we gather together, from church conversations when we with other people at church, or whatever social connection that we have. Conversations needs to start there, but it should not just be conversations. It should be also that we should be active, in a sense that if there's a legislation that comes out and they say we're looking for your comments, we actually do comment. And when meetings are held, we go and be present and hold people accountable. Because if they know that we're going to be in that meeting and we're going to hold them accountable, we're going to start thinking twice.
But they don't publicize such things.
No, they do get publicized, but in a smart way.
Yeah, but
that you'll not be given enough time to be there.
Yes, you remember the land expropriation bill?
Yeah.
A lot of people actually didn't know that they could participate in that conversation.
Exactly.
I remember seeing something, I don't know how I saw it, but maybe it was me being led to a website where I can have my say, but I couldn't care less for it. But it's something that directly affects me at the time until I got conscientized.
But let's, if you see it, make noise about it. Let other people know. But they shouldn't just know. They should also be active in terms of whether they submit something, or they go to a meeting and put their opinions and express all of those things until we get to that point where we can actively do things. That's when things will change. And also, it shouldn't be that as we go to that meeting, there's 10 of us, it's always Nhlanhla that's speaking, or it's always Nkululeko that's speaking, because then they get victimized in that way. If Nkululeko is speaking, I should also come in. Nhlanhla should also come in. So it's seen that it's an agreement between all of us. It's something that we stand for.
Yeah. You mentioned something very important, and it's like, I don't think I've heard someone say it in these podcasts, and it's exactly the problem. when Angie Motshekga is the leader of the Women's League, she cannot be consequenced because you lose that constituency. Because before they vote internally in the ANC, the Women's League decides who they go for between one or the other candidate. You know, Bheki Cele is from KZN, perhaps. Maybe the logic is that you don't consequence him because you might lose, and that is the biggest region of the ANC. You know, I haven't heard a podcaster say that, and that's the most beautiful point. We are where we are now because of that. That people play when they can't consequence Ace Makhashule is because Ace Makhashule has Free State at the time when they were struggling to consequence him.
Yep.
You know, he had Free State at the time, and you had to get more than 4 or 5 provinces to be sure that you will win a conference.
Exactly.
They couldn't consequence David Mabuza for all the allegations of what was happening in Mpumalanga. And I had been reading about it leading up to him being a deputy president, but he got it. And you were in shock, like, Aibo. All the things that the media was writing about him, you know, and allegations of poisoning, this and that, but he becomes the deputy president because over in the region, he comes with the region.
It comes with the numbers.
But I think it then comes back to us. Tina, because they can't consequence themselves there, inside there, Tina, we must consequence them. The problem is to whom?
And how?
How are we taking that vote? And who are we taking that vote to? This is why then podcasting, as podcasters, we've started to talk about taking it to the DA, for example. Max, you mentioned this. And of course, that's somewhat problematic because the DA is a party for white people. And we still have recent memory of being under apartheid. But then that engagement is important. Someone else might mention a different party.
But is it a party for white people or historically was a party for white people?
Well, it's led by...
still...
If there is any party that represents white people, it's the Freedom Front Plus and the DA.
It's still... Yeah. And let's not shy away from
it is.
Because for the fact, there's black faces there that were looked and, you know, embraced as the leaders. And then in no time, the same leaders left those parties to go and form opposition parties. And then as soon as those are done, you look at how Cape Town is run. You know, like the Western Cape, it's like a different country altogether compared to the 8 provinces that we have in this country. And there's still secluded spaces that are privy to certain white people. When you get there as a black person, you really do feel that I do not belong here. So for as long as we still have got those, and it's in a majority province where the DA is leading, it just tells you about what is going on internally in the DA. Because if it was inclusive like that, then it would have a voice. It would not have a voice this month or 3 months, and then in the next 6 months, that black voice is gone, is fighting against those people. So you look at the pattern, and then that's where you realize that they may not come out and publicly say that I left because of white this and that and that and that and that. This is still happening in the DA for whatever reason that they're not coming out. But it's just clear for everybody to see. Because if that were the case, Lindiwe Mazibuko, she would never have left the party. No. Your Musima Manis, your Herman Mashabas, your Pumzile Van Dam. So they'd still be there. But for the fact that they're slowly like leaving those parties, and you're wondering why are they leaving, and they're not necessarily saying, look, I'm leaving because the policies here and everything that I believe and align with is not in alignment with this party. But they will never tell us the truth. But it's just like, plain for all of us to see.
Every party. So white people are 9% of the country, and the DA will always get their vote, and then the far right, the extremists, if I can characterize it like that, would vote for the Freedom Front Plus. You know, you would expect that every Democratic has a party. You know, if we were to try and locate a white party, even if we were confused, that is one. The DA, the Freedom Front Plus, they are separated by perhaps political beliefs, but they are tied by the fact that they are a white party. If a white person is trying to think which party I'm voting for, they will vote for either Freedom Front Plus or the Democratic Alliance. They could persuade themselves to vote for Mandela's party at some point. They would never do it. Even when Cyril was like, he's such a nice man, you know, Cyril Ramaphosa, and you would hear it on 702, you know, they would persuade themselves to vote, but they would never do that. That's why the DA, relative to the demographic percentage of white people in South Africa, which is 9 and 11% around that region, the DA gets double that. So the DA gets like 20%, 25%. So that's supplemented by black people. You know, in order for it to be 25%, it's because there's black people who vote for it relative to its representation. But anyways, like, I think that's the conversation on podcasts, and I think I'm happy that we're starting that conversation. When we spoke about Steenhuisen being the president, I was being provocative, but I was calculating it because I had spoken to it to Nhlanhla about it.
Yeah.
I was being provocative, but I knew that people were going to take that clip, it was going to trend, and it trended. And then it forces other podcasters as well to talk about it. It's important that we talk about this topic. We can't be fun all the time and media and entertainment all the time. We have to talk about this. We need to push the narrative forward. What I haven't done and what all three of us haven't done is nudge people to one direction or the other. Because that would be an irresponsible thing for me to do. I'm a Pan-Africanist, but I can't say vote for the PAC or the Black First Land First, which would be my choices, but still, I have my problems with those parties too. So I'm nudging the conversation towards that direction, but it will still be irresponsible for me to say one or the other, because tomorrow they're going to come back and say, the one that you endorsed is the one that fucked up next, but it's important that we start that conversation. People must choose for themselves what they want, and where it's going, it's a coalition party. I think for me, all these parties are just going to make a coalition and have a 55%. ANC maybe will get 45% as a standalone party, and they will lose that way. Unless Action SA says, we're combining our vote, which could be 6%. We go back to the ANC, they make 51%. That's like my reading of the situation. I would be extremely surprised if the ANC gets 51%, which is enough for them to stay in power. And I would be really upset if our people do that. In every episode, we always talk about what's happening in the country, tavern killings, ESCOM, this and this, but then you're not consequencing the party that's leading you, then that's your problem. Then don't want us to talk about it then.
And that's where the arrogance will come from. Because if I'm not consequenced, then I can just free
do
ride.
whatever,
Shocking.
whatever you want.
The arrogance is shocking.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
Yeah.
They like constantly showing us the middle finger to say, so what? So what if people are dying in taverns? So what if people are being poisoned in taverns? So what if women are being raped by illegal it's like, okay, cool. For the longest time, right? Operation Tutula, right? Or Nhlanhla would always say South Africans are not prioritized in this country. And at first it looks like, this guy's just saying this, and then they're violent, they're doing this and that and that and that. Maybe the context then was not appropriate, but you look at how things are unfolding right now every single week, whereby, the situations in taverns, we've established that it's been there, right? For a while. It's nothing new. It's just that the media has gotten attention to it and they're playing on that, more. Right? So it's now being reported more. But then there's other things that are taking place in this country. And why are we not talking about it? Why is the media not saying that? Why is 40% that is poured in fuel going to government? What is it that this 40% is doing for the South Africans? Why is it that 60% of graduates, why is 60% of graduates unemployed? Why is it so we need to have those uncomfortable conversations, and then that's when we'll start moving into the right direction. But for as long as Ramaphosa is sleeping at a conference and then he trends and then we laugh about it, we're going nowhere slowly. Honestly, we're going nowhere
also
slowly.
having this whole lot of conferences where we talk about things, but there's never implementation.
A talk
because
show.
Then it's a talk show. Every year you get in a conference, it's the same kind of things that are spoken about. And when you look at how many people actually, gain from what is being implemented from there, you actually, it's just a small percentage that gains. Recently there was this conference.
The black exporters.
The one that you guys went to?
Yes.
The industrialist conference, right? About industrialists and exporters.
Yes.
And you walk around and you look at companies that are exhibiting there. In your mind, you start asking your question, how were these companies chosen? And you look around, there isn't even one company from the township that is there to exhibit, right? And you can see now, it's now a class thing as well, So you should be close to somebody that knows somebody for you to be able to get there. You look at the stats of people that benefited from the funding that people get from industrialists, whatever. It's people that will know somebody that knows somebody. Where are the township people that are working? Where are the institutions of higher learning to say you are producing graduates, then what programs are you doing that those graduates, when they go out, they can actually, you get what I mean? There's such things. There are a whole lot of small businesses that are not being assisted to get those graduates into the system so they can be able to help those small businesses to function, because obviously small businesses contribute so much in their GDP, but it's difficult because they don't have the capital to start and run. And the kind of support that they need.
And was there to speak?
Obvious. Lunch bar.
Definitely.
Yes, he was there.
I just saw someone.
But it's those things that when media is given an opportunity, and no, what I've noticed with him, like media don't get an opportunity to sit in a room and address him, because now these are the questions that we would ask, right? So it would be one of those, you'll get the minister of this, the minister of that, but now the person to ask those questions is these are people that were appointed by you. What are you doing to make sure that, because there's this township economy, right? That is a buzzword, right? And I know in Soweto in particular, the township economy there is worth 100 million plus, right? I'm sure it's past the 100 million mark right now. But how do we get there, right? Who benefits directly? Because in my head, I'm thinking, they're saying township economy. How many malls are in Soweto right now? Who owns those malls?
Who makes the money?
You know what I'm saying? So that is part of township economy. Harare township economy. Are we talking about Tholo hats that we are constantly supporting, and because it's an informal business, it's helping the people within the community? Or are we talking about the same people that left their suburbs, came into the township, and are making money from the township? How do we quantify the 100 million that's within the township economy? So these are the conversations that you are absolutely spot on to say, who gets to benefit? Because now you get companies that are from 4 ways, that actually won a prize. I'm thinking, yeah, my daughter, so if you're not from a privileged suburb, so you're not considered because you're not close to people that can see, that can mobilize for you, that can nominate you and then push your name forward so that you also get a grant, and from a grant I can also get something for myself. So is that how it works? Hence I'm saying the country is still far from having conversations that are beneficial to us as the country. It's time that we put ourselves first as South Africans, because nobody's going to do it for us unless we do it ourselves. So it's time to say, let's trend and let's talk about the township economy. Money to the 100 million. How did we get there? Who exactly is benefiting from the 100 million? Because there's an issue here, the foreigners, the Pakistans, but in these Paza shops that have taken over, right? There's also a question of EU Save and ShopRite that have also converted into the Spaza routes and stuff. But none of those companies are actually owned by black people. There's no community benefit to that particular community that those Paza shops are in. So 100 million, and how did you guys get to it? Because as far as we know, in those informal businesses, because it's informal, how do you get to gauge how much we make and we don't make if you guys are not talking about the formal businesses that are within the township? So we just need to have uncomfortable conversations whereby, honestly, let's, from the roots, say we are all from the township, right? How do we start benefiting as children of the township? How do we bring those people to the township? Because I know Gauteng Premier David Makura had one in Sandton. It was an SAB collaboration with the Department of Gauteng. And the first question that we asked was, but why are we in Sandton? Because the people that need to benefit from these programs are people in the township, are people in the rural areas.
So you're not talking to...
And when you're saying township economy, why are you excluding the people in the village? At what point are they going to be part of this economy that needs to circulate as well? When are you going to reach down to them? But politicians, he gave me a long answer. I don't want to lie. I don't remember what he said in that answer because it just did not respond to the question that was asked. You just did not understand
the context. The answer was given. You did not understand the context.
Because it was not answering the question that was asked. That's why. I'm not sure what this is.
Out of all things.
Like a vase line.
Like and subscribe, please. Please. We love it. Your comments are important to us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys.
Boom. You have all the time in the world.
Did you say the line?
Yes. Never, ever, ever touch anything with half your heart. That's it.
Cultr on Cultr.